So welcome, we are in this beautiful cellar of a Connaught, and I'm going to show you how to open a bottle of champagne. Now there are different ways to open a bottle of champagne, but there are a few principles which are very important. So first, the bottle should be cold, either coming from the fridge or an ice bucket, and you must not have shaken the bottle before, of course, because that could increase the foam coming out of the bottle when you open it. So we are now going to cut the foil here, and what you want to do it very neatly, because a lot of effort has gone into the presentation of a bottle, and we don't want to have. So you see, quite neatly, put it away. And now I'm going to put my cloth on top to be in control all the time, but I just want to show you something before. So imagine the cloth is on. I'm going to, you see this little, what we call in French language, you're going to release the cage really, but obviously you should always be in control with the cloth. So I put it back, cloth here, and I'm going to free the cage, but always in control, and very important. And I'm going to now turn the bottle and keep control of the cork. Now I can feel the cork coming, so very delicately, voila, I let him come. You can hear a little bit, voila. And voila. And I'm just going to pour a little bit to check if the champagne is in good condition. Enjoy. Okay, so we are going to talk about pouring champagne, but first let's talk about glasses. So here I've got 3 different glasses. So take the first one, it's what we call a coupe, which is quite a nice shape, but it's not really that good for champagne, because what's going to happen, the champagne, first of all, it'll be very difficult to swirl the glass, because if you do that, you're going to get some champagne in yourself. So very difficult to measure the bouquet, the aroma of the champagne. Also, it will become flatter very quickly, and it won't keep the same amount of sparkle in the long, if you leave it for a few minutes. So I would say a nice glass for cocktail, but not so much for champagne. Take this one. This one is a long flute, a nice, fairly narrow flute, but for me maybe a bit too narrow in the middle, and I would have liked to see the glass close up at the top. So not a bad glass, but not the best. And here, this is the shape I prefer, because it's quite, you see, it looks like a tulip, slightly wider in the middle, and it closes up on the top to keep the aroma. So ideal to swirl the champagne and to smell. So really, for me, an excellent glass for champagne. Now we are going to pour the champagne. So you can pour it that way if you feel, you know, you like it. I mean, it's always nice when you pour to show the label, so don't put your hand on the label. Or if you feel a bit more confident, you can put the cloth at the back and put your thumb into the pump of the bottle, and you're going to pour the champagne. So a little bit first, because you're going to get a lot of foam at the beginning. Now you wait a little bit and you pour more. Voila. You fill about half to 2/3, no more. Like that, you can still smell the aroma of the champagne, because not forget, champagne is a wine, and you've got enough in your glass. So now we are going to talk of the different types of champagne. Champagne comes in all sorts of styles. So let's start with the most popular, non-vintage. Most houses will have a non-vintage. Non-vintage means that's a blend of vintage. It can be also a blend of grapes, and a blend of different vineyards. What the house will try to achieve is consistency and a style, their own style. And so if you buy the same bottle year after year, you should have something fairly consistent. So that's a non-vintage. Then after you have the vintage. So the vintage, of course, can only come from 1 year. And usually, let's say there would be 6 or 7 vintages within a decade. Can also be from the 3 grapes. You know that in Champagne they have 3 grapes, 2 black grapes, Pinot Noir, Pinot Meunier, and white grape Chardonnay. So it could be a blend of the 3. What the winemaker try to achieve is the characteristic of that year, to retain the characteristic. But it can be a blend of different grape, again, different vineyard, but only from 1 year. Here you have rosé. Rosé is becoming more and more popular. Can be produced in two ways. The traditional way of producing rosé, which is starting so made with black grapes, started like a red wine. So during fermentation for a few hours, you have the skin, and the color is drawn from the skin, and then they discard the skin and finish like a white wine. That's the traditional way for most rosé all over the world. But in Champagne, most houses won't do it like that. They will add some red wine into the white wine to just give it some color. The red wine, of course, need to be from the Champagne area, and like that it's more consistent. Year after year they get the similar color. And here we've got demi-sec. You know that Champagne can be produced with, they always add a little, what we call liqueur d'expédition at the end, just before bottling. And can be produced either with almost no sugar added, so it can be ultra brut, brut zero, or brut, which is the most common, where just a little bit of sugar has been added in the liqueur d'expédition, or can be sec, demi-sec, or even doux. But demi-sec here has been quite a lot of sugar has been added to give it a certain level of sweetness, softness, and usually it's very popular for a toast with say a wedding cake. And then there are other different styles also. You might find a blanc de blanc, what we call a blanc de blanc, and I've got here. It's actually a blanc de blanc, a cuvée prestige, and I will explain cuvée prestige in a moment. But let's start with blanc de blanc. Blanc de blanc means a white wine made from white grapes, so it can only be made with Chardonnay. Prestige cuvée, most houses would have a prestige cuvée. Usually it's made from the best vineyard, their best grape. The blend the winemaker is the happiest with. They tend to age it longer to give it more complexity. So that was our Blanc de Blanc Prestige Cuvée. So here we've got another Prestige Cuvée, but this time it's a blend of different grapes, so Pinot Noir, Pinot Meunier and Chardonnay, and vintage 1998. And you can also have a Blanc de Noir, so white wine from black grape. The Blanc de Blanc would be softer, creamier. A Blanc de Noir would be more powerful, so Blanc de Noir could go very well, for instance, with some, tuna or some, even some game can be quite delicious. And then we are going to talk about also older champagne. So here we got a 1979. They are wonderful wine, very complex, a lot of character, but they are very different from your usual champagne. So if you serve that in a restaurant, it's very important that the customer understands it's not going to be the lively, juicy, fresh, non-vintage. Wonderful wine, but if they are not used to it, they could be surprised. One particular aspect of winemaking will play an important role in how the champagne will taste is the malolactic fermentation. So some houses don't do the malolactic fermentation, which is the second fermentation, transformation of malic acid into lactic acid, and some do. There's no right or wrong, it's just a difference of style. So here we've got two champagne, the classic Lanson black label and also the Veuve Clicquot yellow label. So one has the malolactic stop, non-malo, what we call non-malo, it's Lanson, and one, Veuve Clicquot, has had the malolactic. So the styles are very different. Here I'm going to test the non-malo Lanson. So the nose is very fresh, quite appley, citrusy. So a very fresh nose, really. It's crisp, it's vibrant, very energetic type of champagne. Really a perfect start for the dinner, ideal, say, for an aperitif. Now I'm going to compare with the Malo style champagne. A very different nose, a bit richer, a bit more rounder. You expect a bit more brioche, toasty. Creamier, quite smooth. Different style. Again, as I say, no wrong or right. It's just, preferences, or even it could be used in different way. Lanson black label, perfect start of a dinner, and then you would follow with the Veuve Clicquot, richer, creamier. That would be the order I would suggest. So I think now there's only one thing to do, is sit down, have dinner. So bon appétit. several important factors. Factor light, you don't want too much light and not on the bottle. Temperature, ideally around 12-14 degrees Celsius and fairly constant. Humidity, so around 70-75. You don't want it too humid because you could get mold on the label and the cork. Too dry humidity, and then in that case you would get the cork would shrink and you could get oxidation. So these are the important aspects, and of course keeping your bottle horizontal to keep the cork moist. That's very important. So as you can see, to keep your great bottle of champagne, very important that you have the right condition.